This is not just an election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is an election between Donald Trump and democracy, and democracy must win. The United States is the oldest continuous democracy in the modern world. We held elections in the middle of a civil war in 1864. We held free and fair elections during World War I, during the Great Depression, and during World War II. After all of those elections held in extremely difficult circumstances, the loser acknowledged defeat, and the winner was inaugurated and took office. That is what the United States of America is all about. That is what democracy is all about. But today, under Donald Trump, we have a president who has little respect for our Constitution or the rule of law. Today, that peaceful transition of power, the bedrock of American democracy, is being threatened like never before. We have a president today who calls mail-in ballots a hoax and a scam. Trump's strategy to delegitimize this election and to stay in office if he loses is not complicated. Finding himself behind in many polls, he is attempting massive voter suppression. He and his Republican colleagues are doing everything they can to make it harder and harder for people to vote. In addition, he is sowing the seeds of chaos, confusion, and conspiracy theories by casting doubt on the integrity of this election, and if he loses, justifying why he should remain in office. In an interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News, Trump refused to say that he would leave office if he lost. Asked to give a direct answer on whether he would accept the election results, Trump refused. He said, quote, "I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no. And I didn't last time either," end of quote. That's pretty much what he said yesterday. In the middle of a pandemic, Donald Trump made clear that he wants to defund the Postal Service in order to limit the use of mail-in ballots. In an interview on August 13th, discussing a possible deal for a relief package that would have funded the United States Postal Service, Trump let the cat out of the bag by admitting that, quote, "If we don't make a deal, that means they don't get the money. That means they can't have universal mail-in voting. They just can't have it," end of quote. In other words, what Donald Trump is saying to tens of millions of Americans is that at a time when over 200,000 of our people have already died from the coronavirus, you have a choice. You can either risk your health or even your life by walking into a voting booth, or you can't vote. How outrageous, how disgraceful is that?
That was Bernie Sanders with a crystal clear and important message. This election is fundamentally Donald Trump versus democracy. That's where we're at. Even a few months ago, I might have thought that was hyperbolic. But with Donald Trump last night saying he wants to get rid of the ballots, there can be no other interpretation. It's not really Biden versus Trump. It's democracy versus Trump. And Bernie's right. Democracy has to win. That's where we're at. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's where we're at. And Bernie is correct in noting so. And this isn't Bernie kowtowing to the Democratic establishment. I can already see some people saying that. This is Bernie uniquely in a position to understand the dangers of Donald Trump. Remember that back in 2015, 2016, the corporate Democratic establishment was praying for Trump to become the Republican nominee. They were hoping for it. They were pining for it. They thought that, when Trump's the nominee, this is going to be the easiest election in modern history, and Hillary's going to win by 10, and she's going to win 40 states, and it's going to be an absolute tsunami blowout. That's what they thought. Bernie was warning people, however, this guy's dangerous. The way he does politics is not something that you often see in a presidential candidate. It will confuse people. Hillary is a weak candidate, and the way Donald Trump campaigns, even if it's disingenuous, was tailor-made to take down a neoliberal hack like Hillary. And he says, watch out for this man, because he is a threat to democracy and he's a threat to the security of a lot of marginalized people. And Bernie was right. He was 100% right. And here we are. And we don't have to talk about hypotheticals. We do not have to talk about hypotheticals. This is not theory crafting. Trump last night said, I'm going to get rid of the ballots, or I want to get rid of the ballots. His plan is clear. His plan is crystal clear. He knows Biden voters on average are going to be more likely to vote by mail. His voters on average more likely to vote in person. At least that's what we have right now based on the data. And so his hope is on election night, those in-person votes get counted first. He builds up a lead in the swing states. Then he moves to have the mail-in ballots excluded through the use of the courts, which he's packed, maybe with his new Supreme Court justice that's there very clearly with the express purpose of helping him rig the election, or with friendly Republican officials at the local and state level. And his goal will be to stop those mail-in ballots from getting counted. Maybe not all of them, maybe just the ones that come in a little bit later. Ones that were mailed on time, like they're legal ballots, but maybe they don't come in for 2 or 3 days after, and Trump wants to exclude those. And that might matter in a close state like Florida or Pennsylvania, what have you. That's his goal. In effect, he's trying to shred your ballots. That's what he's trying to do. So there's no equivalency here between saying, well, all parties are corrupt. You're right. All Democratic and Republican officials are in it for the capitalist class. I get that. But Biden's not talking about shredding ballots. Biden is not talking like Donald Trump. When Donald Trump talks, basically what he's saying is, I cannot lose. If I win, it's legitimate. If I lose, it's illegitimate. Biden's not saying that. Hillary didn't say that. Mitt Romney didn't say that. George W. Bush didn't say that. George Bush Sr. didn't say that. Bill Clinton didn't say that. John Kerry didn't say that. John McCain didn't say that. Bob Dole didn't say that. None of those people said that. None of them at all. They acknowledged that it's possible for them to lose and it be an accurate reflection of the result. Donald Trump stands alone against that trend. He is a threat to democracy, unlike which we've seen since, again, the civil rights movement, where basically black people were systematically disenfranchised in the South. Since that moment, we have not had such a threat to democracy. Donald Trump has made it very clear what he's planning to do. We should believe what he says. And there's lots of things that need to happen if he tries to do this. General strikes, protests, everything within the bounds of legality, and guys, maybe beyond it. Maybe beyond it. But Trump only has so much power. He is not yet a dictator. And so strong voting results in swing states against Trump, where the margin between Trump and Biden is large enough, it will not matter. In those cases, it could very well be the case that Trump's plan fails. And so it's a mixture. Protest, vote, general strike, maybe more. We're not there yet, but we are on the way there. Listen to Bernie. Bernie's right here. This is a man who understands through his family, his own family history, how ugly things can get very quickly. And he's also a man that understands that America's fundamental historical flaws, from capitalism to racism, have led us to this moment. And defeating Trump is not going to fix those things. But defeating Trump is essential to getting back on course.